Dr. Sleep. So Dr. Sleep is the sequel to The Shining, written and directed by Mike Flanagan. It stars Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor plays Dan, as in Danny, as in Doc, as in the little kid riding his tricycle through the hallways in The Shining. Yes, he's him. He's all grown up now. Now there's another little girl. She has shine too. And there's this cult out there who feeds off of the life force, the energy, the shine of people who have that shining. And so bring on Stephen King horror sequel, also Stanley Kubrick. When you're watching it, it does fundamentally come across as a Stephen King story. Does it come across as a Stanley Kubrick story? This movie does have Stanley Kubrick isms to remind you that, yeah, this is the sequel to a Stanley Kubrick movie, which is funny because it's famous, if not a little infamous, that Stephen King did not like Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining, which I imagine made this a very difficult task to take on. Adapt this Stephen King book, which is also a sequel to a Stanley Kubrick movie that King wasn't really a huge fan of, which is also a sequel to a Stanley Kubrick movie. You're making a Stanley Kubrick sequel. Sequel to a movie that Stanley Kubrick fans and a lot of film fans consider a modern horror classic. Good luck. But hey, think of it this way, at least you're not making a Star Wars movie, because that's where the drama truly lies. What a time. It's a weird time. It's more Stephen King than Stanley Kubrick, but does have Kubrick-isms in it to remind you, yes, this is still part of that world, that universe, and it works. Ewan McGregor was great in this movie. You could tell he has a lot of damage from his childhood trauma. He still carries it with him. Here, he's like, all right, keep your head down. Don't let anyone know you have this shine because other forces can hear you. The same character arc as Rambo or Jason Bourne or a lot of spy movies out there that they're just like, all right, we're gonna lay low. Up, can't anymore. Rebecca Ferguson's perfection. I mean that in every way possible. I just kind of took to calling her Evil Zatanna in this movie, which is funny because her and her cult, her crew, they're the villains. They're very villainous. They feed off of people and cause a lot of pain and horror and fear, and that's kind of what they do. But this movie does a good job at giving you, you know, their side of things. Because we see that so much in horror movies out there. It's like, oh, the creepy thing. It's either the creepy thing under the bed or it's in your closet, mentally racking your brain, glowing eyes in the dark. Oh, it's all scary. And they're faceless, nameless, scary things that are there to scare people because they're just evil, right? But this movie's like, yeah, but what's their side of it? Well, they're scared too. They just don't want to die. They need to feed off of your life force. You know, it's complicated. Now, do you have to watch The Shining if you're going to watch this movie? Can you go into this movie being like, I've never seen The Shining? For the thrills and the supernatural horror element with this cult coming after people, coming after kids, it works fine on its own, but when it starts bringing The Shining into it, you're not going to be lost because you're going to get what it's saying. It's just not going to mean much to you. You're going to be like, I get it. Why do I care? Why do I give a shit? So I do suggest having watched The Shining before you watch Dr. Sleep, or you know what? Have a refresher. I watched The Shining last night before I watched Dr. Sleep today. Having watched The Shining and Dr. Sleep within a day of each other, they're both about 2.5 hours long in runtime. Gives me a 5-hour supernatural epic that really does work well in tandem with each other. So Dr. Sleep stands on its own in its horror element, but also serves as a proper sequel to Stanley Kubrick's Shining. I felt it delved deeper into the lore of The Shining. It actually has its own message about how we live in a less spiritual world these days and what that means for that universe. I had a great time with it. Or if less spiritual world isn't the right phrase right here, how to rephrase it. We live in a more technological and corporeal mindset as opposed to the spiritual mindset of old. Yeah, there it is. I'll say Dr. Sleep was definitely worth watching and worth buying on Blu-ray. Alright, so Dr. Sleep, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what about The Shining? Have you seen The Shining? What do you think of The Shining? Whatever you think of either, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.